every breath we take, every step we make, can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity. We need only to be awake, alive in the present moment. This beautiful quote comes from the book we'll be looking at today, Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh, which shows the essence of this book, which is about being mindful in every moment, or, as he puts it, in every step. Today, we will first look at a review of whether or not this book is worth reading, and then we will go into the summary, which is the main concepts of the book. I've left timestamps to get to either section in the description below. Is the book Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh worth a read? Well, I would say yes, as this book is a great book for people wanting to learn more about mindfulness, or for people wanting to learn new ways for dealing with negative emotions. The other positives of this book is that each concept is given with a story to help the readers relate. He also gives a lot of practical advice, such as giving many different meditations that you can do throughout your daily life. There are walking meditations, washing the dishes meditations, and even driving meditations. He also gives practical advice on how to live better with others. Also, this book is such a beautiful read, emphasizing peace and gentleness in dealing with all of life's problems. The only negative I have of this book is that there is a bit of repetition, but I believe this is done to emphasize the concepts. Okay, so let's move on to the summary section of this book. This book has three main concepts. Concept 1, mindfulness. In this section, the author talks about the key to happiness, and he says happiness is only possible in the present moment. What this means is that happiness can only be found in the present moment. Because if you try and find your happiness in objects or goals, what you will find is that as soon as you reach this object or goal, it will bring you temporary happiness, and then you will have to find new objects and goals to strive for to get your happiness back. For example, if you've ever bought something that you really wanted, you'll find that that thing, such as a new car or new cell phone, brought you a lot of happiness for the first few weeks. But over time you'll find that that object provided you less and less happiness, but eventually it just became part of your life. This does not mean that one should not have any goals or desires. It just means that you should not use your goals or desires as a tool to find your happiness. Under this section of mindfulness, he talks about another common error people make, and this is that we are very good at preparing to live. He has a lovely quote about this which goes, "We are very good at preparing to live, but not very good at living. We know how to sacrifice 10 years for a diploma, and we know how to work very hard to get a job, a car, a house, and so on. But we have difficulty remembering that we are alive in the present moment, the only moment there is for us to be alive." This always looking to the future can be a dangerous thing, as what will happen is that you will always be looking to get this next thing that will make yourself happy, and the next minute you will look 20 or 30 years will have passed and you won't have enjoyed any of it. He also talks about hope as an obstacle, as hope places emphasis on the future, neglecting the present moment. And the best way to have a good future is to be present in every moment. So, a great way to become more mindful is through meditation. In this type of meditation, one places complete focus on their breath, watching their inhales and exhales. The author gives a tip and says one can say, breathing in on the inhales and breathing out on the exhales, and this will help to keep your focus on the breath. If you find yourself thinking about something else, you just bring yourself right back to focusing on your breathing. This type of meditation can be done both seated, which is the most stable, as well as in walking meditations and even in washing the dishes meditation. And a common pitfall that happens when one starts to meditate is that they only practice the mindfulness for their half an hour meditation. They do not allow that newfound peace and mindfulness to come into their daily lives. So, to help remind yourself to be mindful throughout the day, one should use daily events as reminders. This can be things such as church bells, or when you get stopped at a red robot while driving, or even washing the dishes, and use each of these events as a tool to remind you to return to mindfulness. And another tip to becoming more mindful is to remember that the purpose of each event is the event itself. So what this means is that If we look at, for example, the purpose of eating being just to eat, then when you were eating, you'd be completely focused on the event. If you looked at the purpose of eating to fill oneself up or to enjoy your food, then while you were eating, you would always be thinking and wondering, is this food filling me up? Am I full yet? Is this nice food? And this will prevent you from being completely mindful, as you'll always be thinking about other things and not be completely present in the moment. Concept number 2, transformation. Let's first look at dealing with unpleasant events. Let's take an example of washing dishes. Most people find this unenjoyable, but you can only find this event unenjoyable if you are not present when you're doing the event. If you were truly present while doing this event, you would bring that same peace and mindfulness into washing dishes, and thus you would enjoy it. Another problem with not being present during unpleasant events is that you are training the habit of always looking into the future. So while you're doing the dishes, you might be thinking about eating dessert after you're finished, but then while you're eating dessert, you're going to be thinking about watching TV. And then while you're watching TV, you're going to think about tomorrow's events. And this means that you'll continually think about the next thing in your life, and you'll never be present right now. Next, let's look at dealing with unpleasant emotions. The first step in dealing with these negative emotions is to recognize each feeling as it arises. And to help you do this, one needs mindfulness so that you can truly look into your negative emotions, such as fear, and recognize it as fear. The second step is to become one with the feelings. It is best not to say, "Go away, fear, I do not like you," and try as much as you can to push away the fear. It is better to look at it truly and be one with it. The third step is to calm the feeling. This is done by bringing mindfulness to the feeling. What one does is, as they breathe in, you think, "I calm the activities of my body and mind." And just the fact that you are being present with the emotion will help to calm the emotions. The fourth step is to release the feeling or to let it go. Because you're now calm and you're at ease with the feeling, you now have the ability to let go of it, as it is not overwhelming you. The fifth step is to look deeply into the emotion. Look at the fear and find out what caused the feeling of fear. This will help you to prevent further discomfort in the future. Now let's look at dealing with unpleasant events or emotions that are caused by another. The key here is to understand the other person. If they do something to upset you, try to understand why they acted that way, as you cannot be angry with someone if you understand why they behaved in such a way. The third and final concept in this book is nourishing healthy seeds. Seeds are what remain after you've had emotion, and these seeds can be thought of as memories or habits. For instance, if someone says something mean to you, your initial reaction might either be to get angry and say something mean back, or to get sad and think, "Why did they say that to me?" By acting this way and focusing on the event, one reinforces this habit. And in order to stop this event from causing negative emotions, one has to create positive emotions associated with this event. And this can only be done through using mindfulness and focusing on the event. For instance, when someone says something mean to you, instead of automatically reacting, one should take a few breaths and then think, "This person is giving me the chance to be mindful, and thus they are actually giving me a gift." And if you manage to do this every time the event occurs, you will be nourishing your healthy seeds, and eventually it'll become the natural reaction to that event. Another area in our lives where this can be applied is through the statement of "what's not wrong," instead of asking people what's wrong. In the West, it's very common for us to have one negative event ruin our whole day, and instead we should try to focus on all the things that went right in that day instead of just the one negative thing that did happen. This focusing on the positives will help nourish and train the habits of being positive rather than being negative, and thus make us more happy. And finally, the author lists what he calls the Love Action Plan, which is a list of guidelines which helps one to live according to love instead of fear. Feel free to pause the video here to read through the list. And once you're done, let me know in the comments below if you have any other guidelines we could add to this list. Thanks for watching, and you can check out some of the other book reviews I've done over here. And if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe.